Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is and peace out to the rest of you. You already know who it is and who it ain't. The blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media. Signing black and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I'm going to talk quick in this case. And I'm going to talk to the people in Bali and the rest of Indonesia and its government, if I may. What you all did to Kristen Gray and to Sandra Alexander, who are facing, if not already having been deported, was right. Somebody picked up on the fact that, I think it was Kristen that was writing the blog. Someone picked up on the fact that she was writing the blog and that she was telling people how to get around immigration authorities deceptively. And that she was promoting LGBT people to go over there in large numbers and settle, not even just visiting, but settling and making Bali the home. Now, I would like to live in Malaysia myself one day across the border from you all. However, I know that I'm going to have to do this legally. I understand that. You don't want to be deported from somewhere because usually when you're deported, you don't get to go back. And that's any country. And a Muslim with any sense does not want to be deported from a Muslim country anyway. But see, in Bali, I understand most of you on that island specifically, or in that province, you are Hindu and very few of you are Muslim or Christian, but you're part of a Muslim nation. Now, one thing that practicing Christians and Muslims and Hindus agree on is homosexuality not being of any value to the populations and not being healthy. So there's no reason that people are attracted to that. I get it. And I'm going to tell y'all straight, unfortunately, you all were, it's sad, but you all were victims in this case. You all, unfortunately, could have been financially or economically colonized again if what they talked about was true. But not only would you have been such, you would have been such by people that are going to promote a lifestyle that most of us find unnatural and disgusting, and we're not capable of practicing it. And they would have tried to exert economic pressure on populations to bow to their will and glorify their ways. And we don't do that. So you Hindus actually did us Muslims a favor. And this is a case where even though I'll never agree with you worshiping these idols and these gods, and I'll never agree with the white supremacy of your religion, and yes, our religions are at odds with each other, I'm still going to give you credit in this case where it's due and say thanks for this one isolated small act in our mutual favor. Unfortunately, Gray and Alexander are not the same people as me. I'm an African American, but I'm an African American man. They're African American women. We used to be the same people. We are no longer the same people. I wish we were, but we're not. And it wasn't us men that made that decision. We didn't even realize this until recently. Recently, we began to realize that African American women care more about LGBTQ and immigrants, and they actually care more about everybody except black men than they care about black men. They don't even count us as part of the community. So whatever we do is going to be wrong. They will blame us because we don't have control over the world the way that the white man does, and they will disrespect us in ways you don't disrespect your men. Even those of you that are women but you like other women, or even those of you that are men but you like other men and act like women, there's certain disrespect that you don't give to the opposite gender both ways, going both ways, and they will turn around and give that disrespect specifically and only to black men. So if we try to build what white men have, they will make fun of that. Say that we're imitating. If we don't try to build what white men have, because whites have burned it down in the United States before when we've done this, they will blame us for that. If we attempt to protect women from sexual predators who are violent, they will tell us, my body, my choice, you leave me the hell alone. And if we don't try to and we don't interfere because they told us not to, they say we're weak and we're not men and we're not protecting them from the bad men. Everything we do is going to be wrong in the eyes of the Western black woman, not the African woman. But the Western black woman, everything we do is wrong. Whether she is American or Canadian or British or Western European or even Caribbean from the English-speaking countries. I'm not sure yet about the other language-speaking nations in the Caribbean, but in the English-speaking Caribbean countries, they got that feminism bug too. Oh, Jamaica's real bad. It ain't even feminism in Jamaica. They just act like they got the penis. So I'm just going to tell y'all straight, unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with. And it flew over to you literally and started to advocate. Thank you all for deporting them. Understand that, number one, black Americans, white Americans are not the same people, but we're dealing with an episode in history which has been going on for a long time now, in which the African American women generally want to be white women. And a lot of times when they travel, they're not a problem. Most African American women you see that are visiting are not really a problem. Usually not. And if they're willing to live over there, they usually, they could go either way. But you all had to deport them. And I'm going to say this to black folks regarding that part of the world, Indonesia and the neighboring countries. It is true. They generally do treat people equally. Skin bleach is a problem. It is. There is an esteem that they have for whiteness, but they won't mistreat black folk. I'll give them credit where it's due. I've met quite a few in the States and over here in the Gulf where I live. They don't. You might be better treated by an Indonesian than you would by many other black people, if I'm just going to be honest about it. The other thing you must understand as well is that I'm talking to black folks still again. While you see skin bleach selling here and it's a damn problem, if you were to stand up and say, you know what, screw this stuff, they would actually listen. You have a better shot at convincing the women in that part of the world to stop with the skin bleach than you would of convincing women in the continent or in the rest of the black diaspora to throw out the skin bleach and the blonde hair dye and the wigs and weaves. That's true. You got a better shot at that. Also, now mind you, Kuala Lumpur, I understand that's crazy. I understand that KL and Malaysia is getting bad with the feminism. But I imagine that in rural Malaysia, it's probably not quite to that level. Now, next, there's more. Black folk, understand that if you want a part of the world that you can visit, and if you're Muslim, you could even live there and be treated well as long as you're going to treat the people well. That is Southeast Tropical Asia. Now, they're a very, very nice set of people. And unfortunately, there are some folks of any origin who see how nice they are and think they're a bunch of pushovers. And that's not true. When they're disrespected, they're going to kick your behind. The difference is that the way they kick your behind is not with a lot of loud noise or anything else. You will be treated very well and they're very sweet. And then you get out of pocket because you think you can. And the next thing you see is a machete. The reason I know that about that kind of retaliation is because my grandmother had it. My grandmother grew up in the Western United States. She's a descendant of some of the few black cowboys that stayed out west after the cowboy days were gone. She actually grew up on a ranch, and she learned Spanish as a kid because she had, there was some Mexican Americans that lived near her. So she grew up using Spanish and English, and she's not Latin American. So she, being a Westerner, very rustic, learned to kick behind without a change of facial expression. So if you got out of pocket with her, she didn't change her facial expression much. What happened was that a fly swatter would come down on you. And she would increase the heaviness of whatever object she used with which to chastise you. And if she had to shoot somebody, she would have no facial expression and she would have the gun pointed at you. That's how she came up. So I learned to recognize when people were being offended without the change of facial expression from her. And I noticed that this was the case even in Southeast Tropical Asia amongst some people. I went to high school with folks that were from Cambodia and Thailand and Laos and Vietnam. And they didn't always have a change of facial expression. So never forget when one guy just did a flying roundhouse kick on a bully one day. I didn't see it, I heard about it. But they all said the same thing. It was sudden. He wasn't messing with the guy. Some hillbilly bully was messing with him. He said, I'm not looking for trouble and I don't know who you think I am. And when he ascertained that this guy was not messing with him out of mistaken identity, he did a flying roundhouse kick on him like something out of a Bruce Lee movie, knocked this kid over, and they say he reached into his pocket. So when the bully decided to get up and come charging at him, they had to separate both of them because they saw the victim reach into his pocket after he knocked the bully over. No change of facial expression. They all said the same thing. It was sudden. No one knew it was coming. And they didn't want to find out what he had in his pocket. So they just separated both of them. So what I'm getting at here is that you're dealing with a mindset of a people who don't necessarily pride themselves on getting angry when they got to whoop someone's behind. You do it before. If you got to kick behind, you do it before you become angry while you're still thinking. And you don't have to tolerate disrespect because you're nice. They actually look down on people who interpret kindness to be weakness. So when you go to these regions and you start talking about how to take advantage and this sort of thing, no. What you do is you say, well, this is what you can legally do. So if you're allowed to stay on a particular passport for up to 90 days, then you leave the borders and you come back and you start your 90 days over again. And that's how you do it. That's legal. It's not fraud. They're telling you fit the guck out of here and then come back. Or you go through the channels to get a residence. That's what you do. So you don't sit up and tell people how to trick the authorities, and you don't sit up and tell people to bring in and import a practice that the folks that don't particularly want to see imported, but definitely do not want to see being championed and glorified. If you do it, you don't tell everybody about it. If you're a womanizer or you're a slut, you don't go over there and brag about stuff like that amongst them. If they had been in another province, like Banda Aceh, it could have been like that guy in Singapore that spray painted and had to get caned and flogged, and his citizenship didn't stop any of that from happening. And that was actually a very good lesson. That was quite the lesson, because it taught Yankees you don't live by a different set of rules and laws when you go to another jurisdiction. The laws generally apply equally across the board, unless they write down that certain citizenships have different rules to follow. You don't have different rules to follow. And you don't get sprung out of jail because you can call the Yankee embassy. So, black folks, when we do go places, understand we are not there to trash any place to which we go. We've never done that. That's not what we're there for. We're there first to learn what's already going on, then to make a positive contribution. That's what we're there to do. And people will generally respect that. If you will learn them, then they will allow you to start making positive contributions. And I'm saying this as somebody who lives in the Gulf, and I've had to fight these folks about cheating. And I'm not capable of tolerating that. But you know what? Everybody knows it's wrong. They know what's wrong here. And when I have to fight them about the cheating, the funny thing is everybody backs me up until it's their son that I have to get on about the cheating. But that is nothing like saying, okay, I'm over here now, and this is how I deceive the immigration authorities. And by the way, they like what we're doing in our bedroom, so come on over here and champion this, and we'll set up our own little colony and promote this kind of stuff. No. See, even in Bali, which is probably one of the most liberal parts of Indonesia, the federal government stepped in and said, you ain't doing this. You done bragged about deceiving us, and, unofficially you up here promoting this nasty business. You're getting out of here. Next flight out, bye. Now understand this. The provincial government in Bali was already looking for tourists who were not obeying the safety laws regarding COVID-19. Were already looking for them so that they could pick them up and turn them over to the federal governments for deportation. Keep that in mind. So I'm glad this happened. Glad that they got sent out. Because we're not here for that. There are a bunch of black folks that need other places to go to because America it's just not going to work. And the UK's not going to work, and Canada's not going to work. We got to deal with white supremacy as much as we might, some of us conservatives try to act like it's not a thing at all. We got to deal in real life with white supremacy, and then we got to deal with assaults on our manhood from, the African American woman or the black Western woman who's no longer the same as we are, doesn't even come from the same people, despite growing up in our homes. So, that being said, thanks for listening. Black heart, black mind, blackout. Assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual, non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy, exactly like what Kristen Gray and Sandra Alexander don't want until extinction or judgment day.